Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today, as you would have seen in the first clip, I'm reading, or you might not have seen, I don't know, I'm reading Red, White and Royal Blue, and basically, if you don't know what this is one of my first 5-star reads ever, and it's one of my favourite books, and because the movie's coming out on August 11th, I'm so excited, I'm gonna do a spoiler reading vlog. Destiny did one for Daisy Jones and 6, and I really enjoyed that. So basically, I'm going to catch up to speed because I read the first chapter and a half last night. I'm using some colour thingies I got for Christmas. So this is my colour palette for tabbing. I don't have a red, but the pinks and blues, it's kind of cute. I thought it was cute. And I'll catch you up to speed on where we are. So I'm halfway through chapter 2 because chapter 2 is 30 pages. I know, can you believe it? And basically what's happened is we're introduced to the characters, to Alex, June, Nora, his mum Ellen, Zara, who is like her right-hand woman. Like, she's in charge of making sure that Alex doesn't get into trouble. And everyone's like 21 to 25-ish, apart from his mum. And they've gone to England for Prince Henry's older brother's royal wedding, and they've had the cake spillage. And I tabbed it as well. They're like chatting. Is this bit here? They're like chatting, and then Henry goes to walk away from Alex, and Alex is like, don't you dare. And he grabs Henry's like cuff, and they basically fall over, and the cake costs £75,000. Or dollars if you're, but pounds. Because he's British. And so all the headlines come out, and it's like, rifts between America and the UK. So they're trying to figure out. So we're at the point where Alex is about to get on a plane to England to spend the weekend with Henry to make public appearances to fix what is going on. We'll carry on from there. That is where we're at. But you've been warned. If you don't want major spoilers, then go. I may soon run out of these, and I'm not in a position where I can buy more right now, and I'm literally just under 100 pages into the book, and I can't. But a little update on chapter 3, they've started texting, and sometimes when Casey McQuiston writes about texting, it's either in a different font, or she lays it out like this, and it's Henry and Alex. Just a heads up. So basically, they've been texting on and off for a while now. Maybe I'm gonna say a month or 2. I feel like that's the most appropriate timeline. I really love it, and I'm so excited because I know they have emails and there's more texting, and I'm so excited. I'm on page 75 on chapter 4. They are long chapters, and I think I'm just gonna do 1 chapter a day, and I'll work my way slowly through the book. So I'll see you tomorrow. I keep filming updates on my phone just because I can't be asked to set up my camera. But because I read yesterday morning and I didn't give updates as I was reading. Oh shit, my Akawar. I'm just gonna tell you everything that happened in chapter 4 even. And chapter 4, there's a lot that happened because you cover Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year's party, Wow. So basically, what am I saying? So basically, at the start of chapter 4, I think you're at Thanksgiving, and Alex asks his mum to put the turkeys in his bedroom to avoid using taxpayers' money to pay for their suite at the Willard or whatever. And then it's Christmas, and his mum and dad have a fight, and he calls Henry because he's like, Henry, let me just talk about this. And it's like 3 a.m. for Henry because it's like time difference, whatever. So he's calling Henry, and like June thought he was on the phone to Nora, and it's like, oh, but he wasn't. He was on the phone to Henry, and he tells her. So like they're already sort of like, And then June invites Henry to the White House Trio's New Year's party. And Henry's like watching Alex dance. They count down from midnight. He kisses Nora, because they always do that. They're just like best friends who kiss each other, I guess. And then Henry storms off. Sort of like storms, casually collects. He storms off, basically. And Alex follows him, and they're talking. And Henry's like, oh, who do you think you would be if we were anonymous? And then Alex is like, I don't know, a model, obviously, like making a joke. And Henry's like, I'd be a writer. And Alex is like, why can't you be a writer now? And Henry's like, because it's not really the traditional occupation of the royal family. They usually go like militant. And then Alex doesn't say anything. Henry goes, I'd probably date more. And Alex is like, well, I'm sure there's not a lack of options. And Henry goes, well, the options I'd like are not the ones I can have. And Alex like doesn't click it, and he's like, why not? And then Henry's like, this is in the trailer, Henry goes, oh, you're as thick as it gets. And they kiss. It's their first kiss. And then at the end, Henry sort of like stumbles back, and Alex is like sort of like a bit cloudy. And then Henry just walks away into the garden of the White House, and Alex is like, oh shit. Oh, Alex says finally, faintly, touching one hand to his lips. Then, shit. Oh my god. And obviously, I knew they were gonna kiss because I read the book before. But like, I remember the first time I read that, I was like, that's what I was like. So I'm on chapter 5. I'm just gonna time-lapse me reading because I'm also watching season 2 of The Summer I Turned Pretty. So I've got things to do today, obviously. One thing I want to highlight is on page 111, Alex is basically having a gay crisis. Like, he doesn't think he's gay, he thinks he's straight. He's like, how can I be lingering on this kiss with Henry if I've had loads of experiences in the past that means that I'm not into guys? And he mentions Liam. So he says, all his senior year when he got drunk and made out with Liam in his twin bed for an hour and he didn't have a sexual crisis about it. That had to mean he was straight, right? Because if you were into guys, it would have felt scary to be with one, but it wasn't. That's just how horny teenage best friends were sometimes. Like, oh god, like when they would get off at the same time watching porn in Liam's bedroom, or that one time Liam reached over it and Alex didn't stop him. Liam is crucial to the story. You have to remember his old best friend, Liam. Okay? Just you bear in mind, you have to remember Liam. And I hope they include him because he's such a pinnacle point in Alex's own self and his past. We're gonna go through this together. So yeah, you have to remember Liam is key, and he's been mentioned once before when June and him were having a discussion about how he has no friends, and he was like, Liam's my friend, and she's like, you haven't spoken to Liam in years. So as a part of Alex's like gay crisis, he goes through lists. He's a very like organized person, and he lists of things he knows right now. 1, he's attracted to Henry. 2, he wants to kiss Henry again. 3, he has maybe wanted to kiss Henry for a while, as in probably this whole time. And then he goes for another list, and it's Henry, Sean, Liam, Han Solo, and Raphael Luna. Those are all the guys he's been attracted to. And I wrote, Han Solo? Seriously? And then he's like looking through one of his mom's binders, and it's demographic engagement, who they are and how to reach them. And he goes through the like LGBTQ plus tab, and he stays on bisexual Americans. So he's sort of like grounding himself as a bisexual at this moment. And we're like, as readers, we're the only ones who knows, because he hasn't told June, he hasn't told his mom, he hasn't told anyone. It's like our little secret. Okay, so I've not like clocked into this video in a while, but I'm currently in the park and I've not read Red, White and Royal Blue for like a week. So, okay, the part I'm at right now is they're at like a state dinner, and Alex's mum is meeting the new Prime Minister of the UK, and they're in like the state dinner, and Alex is annoyed because Henry still hasn't spoken to him since they kissed at the New Year party, and it's been like a month. And so he gets Nora to get him alone, and basically they're in this like drawing room. They're in this drawing room, and there's like portraits of past presidents on the wall, and they like have like a hot moment. And I don't know if it's Amy, Zara or Shan, but someone comes in, and then the party moves to that room, and they're like doing up their ballot. It's like, it's a good moment, trust. I'm listening to a playlist where you listen to the songs in order as you read the book. And happily by One Direction just came on, so that's cool. But basically, they went into the red room, that's what it's called. And after they like make out for a couple of seconds, Alex goes, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna be like 500 feet away from me for the rest of the night, or else I'm gonna do something that I would deeply regret in front of a lot of very important people. Henry goes, alright. Alex goes, and then you're gonna come to the east bedroom on the second floor at 11 o'clock tonight, and I'm going to do the very bad things to you. If you fucking goes me again, I'm gonna get you on a fucking no-fly list, got it? And then Henry goes perfectly. I'm at the point where he's just made it to his bedroom. Obviously I read it before, so I know what happens, but I remember when I first read this, I was like, oh my god, it's so good. Also, my eyes look kind of crazy. Love that for me. I said in the last clip that I would finish Red, White and Royal Blue in that day. I didn't. Instead I got heat stroke. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up my bed so that I can finish it today, because it's 16:42 and I've been off work basically since 2 o'clock. So basically what I'm saying is I have time, and like it's really miserable outside, so why not? Okay, I've also got a water and a nice coffee. Those are my Slurpee Slurp supplies. The book, and I am worried I'm going to run out of tabs. I might have to buy more. And then all the pens I'm using are I've put in this little pencil case. So yeah, I'm just going to read and I'll butt in. So I'm currently on page 173 of chapter 7, I think. The chapters are so long, and this one doesn't end until like 220 something, so we're gonna keep going. I don't know if I explained it at the beginning, but I have like neutral colours. I have like colours for Henry and Henry and Alex. I'm using the mild liners and Muji pens a lot. And then purple is Alex and blue is Henry, and the same goes for my tabs. And I'm running low. I'm getting nervous. I only have one of each colour, so I don't want to mess it up, is what I'm saying. I feel like the politics is a vital part of the book, and we are shown it, which is cool, because it's so true to Alex's character development. But it's just hard to annotate because it's like fictionalized fact. I don't know. Kind of hard to describe. Interested to see how they approach the politics in the movie. I think that could be really interesting as well, because I find it very interesting. Alex says, "You've always backed me up until now." And she goes, because until now you weren't fucking the Prince of England. Amen. I don't know if my big camera's still recording, so I'm just going to say it. A weird one to note, but this is my scenes I want in the movie tab. And this scene is post Alex's graduation. He's finally graduated with his Georgetown University government degree. And everyone's there, like political powerhouses and family friends who are like a mix of both are there. And then all of a sudden, Jacinto just pulled out of the campaign race. So it's now officially Claremont, so Alex's mom, versus Richards in the 2020 elections. So everyone's like dramatically like dispersing to work on like campaign stuff. I don't know, politics. They could cut the majority of the politics and Alex's relationship with politics and make it a love story, like strictly a love story. And I think this book is so much more than that in some very subliminal ways. I think it's got a great deal of like passion and career-driven attitudes that you don't see in a lot of rom-coms, other than like, oh, I want to open a bakery. You know? I feel like, especially because our MCs are so young in this, they're 21 and 23. And usually I put many romances between like 28 and 35. That's where I seem to position most of the MCs in a lot of books, unless otherwise stated. Yeah, I think this would be really cool to have in the movie and to see Alex's progression, because it also leads to the later part of Alex and Henry's relationship, and it's like key to the third act conflict, if you will. So it'll be really interesting to see how they do it. But oh my god, oh, I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Okay, I wanted to give a chapter 8 update. Yeah, okay, so it's 420. I'm like just under halfway, like literally pages away from being halfway. And I wanted to give a chapter 7 update. So basically, a lot happens in chapter 7. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember all of it. Not as in like I don't remember, I just don't remember where it starts. Chapter 7 is a big boy though, so it starts on page 157 and finishes on 202. It's a 50-page chapter. It's like an eighth of the book. Make sense. So basically, it starts with Alex and Henry both altering their schedule so they can meet up with each other through international relations. And then we get a glimpse into a tiny bit into Alex's work life with his mum, the policies he's like working on, the policies he's not supposed to be working on, i.e. the Texas binder. And we have his graduation party. He listens in on his dad and Raphael Luna, and there's like stuff going on he doesn't quite understand, and as readers we are kept out of the dark as well. And by the end, there's a really cool scene where Bea, Henry, Pez, Nora, June, and Alex all go to a nightclub, and it's like they have like a fun night out, sort of like a celebration, sort of like just to relax, to chill out, because Pez and Henry had like business to do in LA surrounding LGBT shelters. And Henry and Alex have sex for the first time. This is like a monumental thing because it's more than what they were doing beforehand. It's like a actual step in the relationship. So we start chapter 8 with another round of emails. We've seen first, I think I videoed a bit where they like start their emails in funny ways, so they'd be like the first son of pain in my ass or something like that. Just be like funny gimmicks. And I think chapter 8 might be one of the short chapters. It's only like 30 pages. Here is your chapter 8 update. I have 10 pages left of chapter 8, but I feel like I could give quite a substantial update nonetheless. Massive political news has broke out on the post, literally towards the end. This is where we learn about subtle political, I don't say dispute. Oh my god, the word has completely gone from my head. When someone, betrayal, that's the word I'm looking for. And it's from Mr. Raphael Luna. Now, I know this is a spoiler reading vlog, but I don't want to give so much away because I feel like there's so much expression that one might read. So I remember the first time I read this, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And spoiler for upcoming spoilers, but it does get resolved, obviously, because like you've got this much left. But at this moment in time, it may feel like one of the biggest betrayals of all time, which is really interesting, especially because we obviously get the story in Alex's point of view. It's really interesting because Raphael Luna is one of the gay members of staff, and Alex really looks up to him from like a personal perspective and who they are as people and what contributes to their identity, and I feel like that's really important. But other than that, not a lot has happened in this chapter. I don't want to call it a filler chapter like a lot of books have, because the chapters are so long. I feel like there's not much that could not be a filler. But we do get foreshadowing on the emails and how Alex has been told not to use private email servers. Foreshadowing. Severe foreshadowing, which is fine. But yeah, I'm on page 224. I've got a fat chunk left. Do I think I'm going to finish it tonight? I don't know. But I will try my hardest. Right, back at it again. Pew. And my drinks of choice today are cup of tea and the rest of my Monster. Why is this video taking me so long? The whole of chapter 9 is the trip to the lake house, essentially. Him and Henry are at the lake after dark when they're supposed to be in bed, technically, because they have PPOs like surrounding the house, like all night security. But they get past and they're in the lake, and Alex is trying to invite this deep moment where they can talk about their feelings in a very like serious way, and it's just like privately. And Henry kind of shoves him off. And he swims back to the lake and he's like, if you don't mind, I'm going to go to bed. And then when Alex wakes up in the morning, Henry's gone. And the last message that Henry sends him is, Alex, had to leave early for family matter, left with the PPOs. Didn't want to wake you. Thank you for everything. Kiss. And that's how we start chapter 10. Basically. Is with Henry pulling a ghost. Again. So it's going great. In chapter 10, we get the museum scene, which is in the movie, and there's some really cute like passages before Alex goes back to the UK. So when US. So when Thingy ghosted him after the lake house, when Henry ghosted Alex after the lake house, he basically storms his way over to the palace, barges himself in, and he's like, "You're gonna talk to me or not?"
And basically Henry gets really deep and he says stuff like, I've always thought of myself as a problem that deserves to stay hidden because, you know, I mean, he's a gay prince. And they basically just talk about that night at the lake house and how he wasn't ready. And then he sort of says something to Alex, and he's like, I can offer you all of me in whatever way you have me, and I can offer you the chance of a life. If you can wait, I want you to help me try. Alex is like, okay. It's either Alex or Henry says it, and they go like, okay, I'm into making history. And if you've read the book, you know that the whole history thing is like a big thing. And then Alex tells him about what his mom said. You have to be 1,000% serious about him. And at the end of the chapter, Henry like says secretly in his ear, because they're at the hangar at the airport, and he goes, listen, I want you to know I'm 1,000% sure. It's so cute. So I'm gonna read this before I have to go to work again, because it's like raining outside and I thought it'd be really cute. Okay, just a quick little update. I've read like 2 pages, but I just love the way that Henry expresses his love. I don't know if that's like the right word, but obviously because he's royal, they have sort of like certain customs with language, and he says stuff like, oh, I love you terribly. And then he says stuff, I also highlighted, but only you and I will know, because they're talking about like when they're together, and Henry was like, oh, I could just come to the White House and just live in your room. And he goes, but only you and I will know that I'm just bored in your bed, reading books and feeding myself profiteroles. And I think that's such a good way to live. I honestly would love it so much. The start of chapter 11 is like just emails, and they're like really deep, and they talk about like Henry coming out and different plans that they want to make for when they can like be together, I guess, which is like really cute. And they still put in the like PS and then the little inserts from like text and different quotes from letters between like famous people, so like Eleanor Roosevelt, Virginia Woolf, stuff like that. It's really cute. Back again. It's gonna be interesting to see how they convey the emails, because this whole chapter has literally just been emails so far. And this is Henry's email to Alex, and he's talking about how with his memories and his grief, he associates them with rooms in the palace. Like when his dad died, he put it in the palace hall, like the grand hall, with shut curtains and locked doors. And then he says, because he's trying to tell Alex about his perception of the first time they met at the Rio Games in 2016. And he says, but the first time I saw you, Rio, I took that down to the gardens. I pressed it into the leaves of the silver maple and recited it to the Waterloo vase. It didn't fit any rooms. And I'm just like, their first kiss was in the White House gardens. And I think that's so... I don't want to say coincidence. It's like fate. It is fate. Like, that is what it is, you know? Face, close cam. Love that. So, at the start of chapter 12, surveillance footage from the hotel scene, which is in the trailer when Henry falls out the closet, gets leaked. And people obviously speculate that they're in a relationship. So, to solve it, June posts a cropped picture of her and Henry from the weekend in Texas. Is it Texas? I don't know. The weekend when they went to the dad's house thing, whatever. And basically it works. And Nora goes up to Alex and is like, just take me on a date. It'll be fine. So they go somewhere that's like public, because Henry knows. Well, he called Henry to see if Henry was fine with it. But Henry obviously knows that Nora and Alex are just friends. So that's kind of like where we're at right now. So like stuff is starting to hit the fan, and like they're trying to figure out sneaky ways to like sort it. I can't get over my eyes. Kind of cool, love that. So they're trying to like figure out ways around it, and it's going half okay, but I know it gets like really tense soon, and I'm not. This is the part of the book I don't enjoy, because it's like the third act conflict, but it's like realistic, because if this was real, it would be this like explosive, and there'd be this much like trepidation around the whole situation, whereas like some people would be like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal, but like it is, even though it really shouldn't be. It's a cool way to approach it. which is what I like. But I hate third act conflicts. I just hate how it happens. I just don't like it. A quick run through of what happened. If you remember Raphael Luna, then you'll remember this. Basically, Alex storms into Raphael Luna's office and is like, why did you switch to Richardson's side? Like, why did you do that? I want to know why. And Raphael's like, I can't tell you. Like, I just can't. I'm your opponent. I can't tell you now. And he's like, yeah, but we're the same, meaning like queer. And he's like, we're not the same. And then Alex says, Raphael's like, you have time to find a nice girl and marry her and be normal. And Alex says in Spanish, yeah, but I can't because it wouldn't be him. And basically Raph is just like, just get out, like, go, I can't hear this, like, are you stupid, like, leave. We're at that point now. There's some more emails, and that's basically the end of chapter 12. So he's basically told Luna that he's gay in a sense, but we don't know why Raphael has like switched sides. And then coming up is the campaign, like the big start of the re-election campaign, basically, at the end of the book.
You join me for the final leg of this reading vlog. I'm bored of reading it. So basically, I'm on chapter 14 now, and I didn't check in at all during chapter 13. And I feel like a lot went down. Chapter 13 starts with Alex going in with his mum, and she's in like the West Wing room, and he's thinking she's gonna rip his head off, and instead she just goes, "Are you okay?" Like, she acts like a mum, and he thought that he wasn't going to. So then they have like this heart-to-heart a bit about it. And then we get insight into the Washington Post article about the Waterloo letters, which is what they've named the emails between Henry and Alex. And basically how the White House, well, they got Jeffrey Richards, if you remember, is a baddie. He's the Republican runner for the election. He comments saying that, like, oh, if they use the private servers for emails like this, what else are they gonna do? So then, yeah. In the last chapter, Alex told Luna about Henry, and he tells his mum, and she's like, fuck, okay, we have to sort this out. And basically, Zara puts him on a flight, and she, like, threatens Sean, and she's like, we have to get in to the palace, we need to see Henry ASAP, you are going to get me a meeting with the Queen. And then we have Alex and B talk whilst Henry is sleeping, and we learn a lot about Henry and about how when you're young and you deal with grief, because Henry's dad died when he was young, I think he was like 12, it changes how you feel emotions later, because it is like the deepest thing, and everything can go down to that point. It's on this page. Because Alex says, I feel like he's not telling me something, and she goes, B says, so imagine we're all born with a set of feelings, but for everyone, that's the ground floor, or bottom crust of the pie. That's the maximum depth you've ever experienced. But it happens when you're young. It happens when your brain isn't fully done cooking. The worst thing is one of the first big things that ever happens to you in your life. And because you are so young, and because it was one of the first big things to happen in your life, you'll always carry it inside of you. And she goes, do you understand? You need to understand this to be with Henry. He is the most loving, nurturing, selfless person you could hope to meet. But there is a sadness and a hurt in him that is tremendous, and you may very well never truly understand it. But you need to love it as much as you love the rest of him, because that's him. He is prepared to give it all to you, which is far more than I've ever, in 1,000 years, thought I would see him do. And then Alex goes, But the thing is, jumping off cliffs is kind of my thing. That's the choice. I love him with all of that, because of all of that. On purpose. I love him on purpose. I'm honestly... And then they have a meeting with Philip. Oh, I say meeting. Because Alex stayed the night at the palace, he's with Henry in the kitchen that we see when he first goes over to England, where they share cornetto at midnight. Philip bursts his way in, and Henry stands up for himself. And I literally write Henry swearing shows the intensity of the scene, because he never swears. And I'm like, I'm so proud of Henry. And Alex says nothing for the whole scene. He sits there like a flower on the wall. And the last thing he says before he leaves the room behind Henry, who stormed out after he said his piece to Philip, he said, "For what it's worth, that is the bravest son of a bitch I've ever met." And I think it's so cool to be, because we are essentially in the same position as Alex for that scene. We're watching these two siblings argue about the legacy of the royal family, when what is that legacy if it's all colonialism and hiding and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see that. And then we have the meeting with the Queen, and she's like, "Henry, we can make it all go away. You don't have to live like this. We can find you a girl," and support her immensely. And he goes, "No, that it's all true. I don't want that." And Henry's mum, who has been inactive this whole time since their dad died, I think 10 plus years ago, I'm not really sure. Yeah, Rio, 5ish, I don't know. His dad's dead, and his mum has been jack shit in her grief. She walks up to the window, opens the window, and you can hear this massive crowd outside of Buckingham Palace. And they're chanting Henry and Alex's name. And it's basically, this is the start of where we see the support. Because I feel like this newer generation, I don't want to be ageist or anything, but I feel like we're really good at being open and just leaving things be when they are what they are. And I feel like this shows it. But obviously, because there's such a divide in Britain and probably across Republican states in America, it's oh, but why do they have to be like that? And then it's why can't you just leave it? And because some people are hating, you have to express love as well. So basically, it's like that. So we have, they're all holding signs, and there's support on Twitter and stuff like that. And Alex tries to swallow, but he can't. He looks up, and Henry's looking back at him, open mouth, eyes wet. And Henry does this. Henry's mum goes on this big spiel, and she sort of apologises to Henry in a way. And although it's not the whole of it, it is what is needed as a start, basically. So we start chapter 14 when Alex is back in America. And the last part of chapter 13, I'm just going to read it to you. It's literally 4 lines, and he says, "He calls June from the air of the Atlantic. 'I need your help,' he says. He hears the click of her pen cocking on the other side of the line. 'What you got?' And we're about to find out what she got, because we don't know. I mean, I know, but you don't know. You might not know. So that's where we're picking up. I have some very thin bunch of tabs on this thing. I've used them quite swell. And I do want to do a flip through of some of my favourite pages, or just a flip through of some of the annotations afterwards. I think that would be really cool. Like a B-reel shot. Okay, we are at the part, we're literally a few pages in, and we're at the part where Nora has been MIA throughout the last couple chapters, and she finally comes in with this massive binder for Alex, and I'm going to show you what it says. So basically, someone emailed it to them, and it's the entire contents of Richard's private campaign email server, because every campaign has a private email server, I guess, for in-house stuff. And they said it was sent it specifically to me because they knew I was personally invested in Alex's situation and would work as fast as possible for what they didn't have time to. And Alex is like, what? Which is proof. The Richards fucking set you up. When I first read this book, I was like,
like, jaw slackened. I was like, oh my god, like, you can kind of, like, guess it, but I think when you're reading it for the first time and you're so into the book, because when I first read the book, I read it in 2 days. I was, like, enthralled with this book. I was gobsmacked, and it only gets better. If you're a fan of Mean Girls, then you'll understand the October 3rd reference, and if you don't, you'll probably notice it on TikTok. But after this movie, I can assure you October 2nd will be equally as big, because that is the day that Alex is giving his speech to the world. He's doing a telecast speech with Henry at his side, and June wrote the speech, and it's really, like, intrapersonal, and I think we do get the speech. Yeah, we do. I think. I don't know. But I needed to mention the October 2nd thing, because otherwise I'd forget. Good morning. I am, and have been first, last, and always a child of America. You raised me. I grew up in the pastures and hills of Texas, but I had been to 34 states before I learned how to drive. When I caught the stomach flu in the 5th grade, my mother sent a note to school written on the back of a holiday memo from the Vice President Biden. Sorry, sir, we were in a rush, and it was the only paper she had on hand. I spoke to you for the first time when I was 18 on the stage in the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, when I introduced my mother as the nominee for president. You cheered for me. I was young, full of hope, and you let me embody the American dream. That boy who grew up speaking 2 languages, whose family was blended and beautiful and enduring, could make a home for himself in the White House. You pinned the flag to my lapel and said, we're rooting for you. As I stand before you today, my hope is that I have not let you down. Years ago, I met Prince, and though I didn't realise it at the time, his country had raised him too. The truth is, Henry and I have been together since the beginning of this year. The truth is, as many of you may have read, we have both struggled every day with what this means for our families, our countries, and our futures. The truth is, we have both had to make compromises that cost us sleep at night in order to afford us enough time to share our relationship with the world in our own terms. We were not afforded that liberty, but the truth is also simply this. Love is indomitable. America has always believed this, and so I am not ashamed to stand here today where presidents have stood and say that I love him. The same as Jack loved Jackie, and the same as Lyndon loved Lady Bird. Every person who bears a legacy makes the choice of a partner with whom they will share it, whom the American people will hold beside them in hearts and memories and history books. America, he is my choice. Like other countless Americans, I was afraid to say this out loud because of what the consequences might be. To you, specifically, I say, I see you. I am one of you. As long as I have a place in this White House, so will you. I'm the first son of the United States, and I'm bisexual. History will remember us. If I can only ask one thing of the American people, it's this. Please do not let my actions influence your decision in November. The decision you will make this year is so much bigger than anything I could ever say or do, and it will determine the fate of this country for years to come. My mother, your president, is a warrior and the champion that each and every American deserves for 4 more years of growth, progress, and prosperity. Please, don't let my actions send us backwards. I ask the media to not focus on me or Henry, but the campaign, on policy, on the lives and livelihoods of millions of Americans at stake in this election. And finally, I hope America will remember that I'm still the son you raised. My blood still runs from La Meta, Texas, and San Diego, California, and Mexico City. I still remember the sound of your voices from that stage in Philadelphia. I wake up every morning thinking of your hometowns, of your families I've met at the rallies in Idaho and Oregon and South Carolina. I've never hoped to be anything other than what I was to you then, and what I am to you now. The first son, yours in actions and in words. And I hope when Inauguration Day comes, again in January, I will continue to be. Basically, this is my final... I finished the book, and I know I didn't do many check-ins for the last 2 chapters, so chapter 14 and 15, but there's elements in the last chapter that I would love for you to navigate by yourself. So basically, the biggest spoiler. His mum, Ellen, wins the election, the 2020 election. But I feel like we all knew that was going to happen anyway. So, basically, Alex sort of reconciles with, like, Raphael Luna, and everyone's really supportive, and the last chapter is basically election day.
and you're following Alex and like the nerves of everyone in the room because they're back in Texas in their hometown, and you have like senators, friends and family, and like everyone there watching the polling as it happens. And he sort of reconciles with Nora because Nora's sort of been MIA. So the last 2 chapters are sort of just like the closing of the book. And I love this book still as much as when I first read it. Still my first ever 5-star read. I love it. I think I love this book, and I'm so excited for the movie. And there are so many scenes that I want in the movie, and I'm just going to give you a quick rundown based on my tabbing. So the scenes I want in the movie is dark purple, so now I've got to find them. Okay, the first one I have tabbed is when Alex pushed Henry into the cake, and he's talking to his mother afterwards, Ellen, and she goes, "Please tell me another joke. I want so badly for you to explain how this is funny." And Alex goes, "He started it." I just thought, like, to have that family dynamic shown in the film would be so cool. The second one I have is the White House trio gathered in, I don't know if it's a bedroom or in a music room or whatever, but they're basically learning his fact sheet about Prince Henry, because he has a fact sheet. And then I have the scene where Alex finds out he's gay, and then I have the email scenes because I think he's so interested to see that. His scene with Waspy Hunter. I don't know what WASPY stands for, but I call him Waspy, and I read it as Waspy Hunter, as Hunter. When they have the little argument about the Texas binder. Henry's scene with Philip in the kitchen. The final scene in the White House, where it's like the final time in the book that you see Henry and Alex waking up together. And there's something, because after everything that's happened, it feels the same as every other scene where they've woken up together. Alex thinks he looks cute smushed up against a pillow, and they're like touching each other, they're half naked and they're sleepy. But it feels so like clean. Like it feels like a huge blanket has been lifted off, and it's like they're stood before an ocean. It's like you never know where this is going to take us. It sort of feels like that, as if they've entered this universe where everything is going to be fine. And a lot of like low star ratings of this book have said that would never happen in real life. But this is fiction. Like, and you never know, it could happen, and it has happened, but it won't happen this way because the world isn't perfect. And this world isn't perfect, but this world always works out for the good people. And life in general doesn't work out for good people, and I think that's where some people have an issue with this book, where it feels too happy. And I just think sometimes you have to just be not too serious about books that represent real life. It's a really good story to learn about identity and other things like that, and I think that's so much more important than focusing on the fact that the Prince of England would not be with the first son of the United States. Like, it really is not that deep. And I will defend this book in any court across any country in the world, and I will love the movie. And if the movie is oh my god, I saw a picture the other day from the official Instagram page, and they were in a cafe. Not once in this book are they in a cafe. Like, June and Henry go to a cafe when they get paparazzi'd in the van in the alleyway. When they kiss in a van, because June takes him back to Alex in the van when they've been put on, like, when they're trying to fake date to, like, quiet down the noise. But, like, when does that happen? And, like, you know, the scene in the trailer where they're sat in front of the cameras on that bench and they're like, "Oh, can you smooch in a little closer?" When they were doing, like, press and stuff, that didn't happen. It was all just, like, photographs and stuff. They never did an interview. Oh, they did on Good Morning Britain, but Good Morning Britain isn't filmed in the palace, it's filmed in the studio. So I'm guessing they've changed bits of it, but I hope they really don't. And I know Casey's working really close with the film, so I'm hoping it's going to be really good. I'm going to watch it by myself, because I'm not watching it as a film, I'm watching it as a book adaptation. And as I'm the only person I know that's read this book, it's important for me to do it on my own, in my own terms. I have seen all the stuff for the New York and the London screenings, and it looked like everybody had such a blast, and I'm excited to pick up the movie cover copy of this book and limited editions and other stuff and other relics I can find. I love this book. I have 2 copies. I have the British print and the I'm going to say American print or the original print. I don't know. They're very different. But I'm happy with both of them and with this book. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe. And I'll see you again soon.